Well, hello, jewelry friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Jewelry Resellers Podcast. My name is Desiree, and you already know I'm your jewelry reselling bestie. Today's episode is going to be focused on the mindset of a successful jewelry seller, or in our case, the mindset of a successful jewelry reseller. Now, this episode is going to kind of go in a little bit of a different direction because I recently had a conversation with a fellow jewelry reseller, and we were talking about how easy it is to get discouraged when doing this, and how a lot of times, whether you're just getting started or even if you've been doing this for a while, it can feel like a grind. It can feel like a job. It can feel like things just aren't working or they're not going in the direction that we want them to go. So I thought that I would do an episode focused on really trying to coach ourselves into getting in the right mindset and having realistic expectations and figuring out what this business really looks like and what it should feel like for us individually. Now, I have been doing this for a few years, like I've talked about many times on the podcast, but I don't always get it right either. I don't always have everything all figured out. I still make mistakes. I still have some struggles. And there's times when I feel really, really discouraged and I don't want to do it. And I know I have talked about feeling burnt out and trying to, um, like I said, make this business work. And so I have some things that I want to share with you because, like I said, if I can just encourage you in any way, that's really my intention with this particular episode because I know it's not easy. And I know that for some people it may be easier than others, but at the end of the day, we all are working hard and we're all trying our best. And so I think if we can really get our minds right and think about the long haul or the long term as it relates to doing this, I think it could make it a little bit more, I don't want to say easier, but it kind of gives you the understanding as it relates to how and why you should keep going. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, I always have some type of announcement or something I want to share with you, and today's going to be no exception. So, the first thing I want to let you know is that I do have some brand new ebook resources for you if you are interested in learning some things about jewelry reselling, marketing your business. I will go ahead and drop the link in the description of this video as well as in the show notes. I have 3 brand new ebooks. One is how to clean, organize, and store your jewelry. Another one is how to market your jewelry business using social media. And then I have the ultimate hashtags and keywords list, which you can use on a variety of platforms. And it will really kind of help you get really dialed in as it relates to SEO, using the correct keywords to make sure that your listings get seen, or if you are using it in social media to help your potential customers or followers find you, because that'll be the type of content that you are making. So this keyword list or this hashtag list helps you do both of those things. All right. So if you'd like more details, like I said, I will have the link to all of those in the description of this video. Also, I will be speaking next month at the Boss Reseller Remix, and I am really excited. I can't wait to meet a few of you who have told me you're going to be there. So, if you are not familiar with what the Boss Reseller Remix is, it is a reseller specific event. It's focused on education and networking so you can meet other resellers. It's not a jewelry reseller specific event, but it is a reseller specific event. So obviously there will be some other jewelry resellers there as well, but it's happening in Las Vegas in March of 2025. And I have a discount code, which is jewelry. So if you're interested in going to that event, go ahead and use that code because it'll save you a little bit of money. And I will also have the link to that in the description and in the show notes. All right, so those are just a couple of things that I wanted to throw out there and let you know as it relates to what's happening, what's going on. And if you are going to the Reseller Remix, please let me know because I would love to connect with you. I think I've said it before. I am pretty much the social butterfly. So I love to connect and meet with people and chat, especially when it comes to jewelry and reselling. I'm really like that's totally my jam. So let me know if you're going to come. All right. So let's go ahead and get into today's topic. Let me pull up my notes as I always do. So, like I said, we are going to talk about developing a success mindset as it relates to being a jewelry reseller or a jewelry seller. Because the other thing that I have noticed is that a lot of you who watch my videos just sell jewelry. You're not necessarily jewelry resellers, but you have jewelry businesses. So I want to say hello and welcome because I think a lot of the information can be translated either way. All right. So the very first thing, like I said in the intro, is when it comes to having a successful mindset, or even not even successful, just a growth mindset as a jewelry seller or as a jewelry reseller, that's really what we want to focus on because honestly, you will never ever achieve everything and everything and anything as it relates to jewelry. You'll never know it all. You'll never master all of the things as it relates to doing this. But the thing is to really get comfortable and to make peace with continuous learning, continuous growing, continually stretching yourself beyond what you thought was possible, or even giving yourself permission to try something different and being okay either way, like if it works out or if it doesn't. Now, I know as it relates to business, a lot of times you'll hear people say that this is not the time to experiment. It's not the time to take risks and take chances. And to some degree, I do agree with that. But I also know that sometimes you have to do something different if you want to get different results. If you want to make more money, you're going to have to do something different than what you're doing now, because obviously what you're doing now is keeping you at a certain income point. And if you want to go beyond that, that means that you have to do something. You have to expand or grow or learn or try something different in order to get there. So making peace with the continuous learning and knowing that you can really pivot and change things as you go. Like you don't have to be pigeonholed in any way. Now, I know it's real easy to get comfortable in business, especially in reselling. And, I've been guilty of that too. But I'm really trying to explore other options. I'm trying to not necessarily experiment, but maybe adding things in that I just have not done before, and really trying to figure out exactly what will work for me, because as it relates to what we do, you know that it's not consistent. I mean, we can create consistency as it relates to our systems, but we can't control everything in every aspect of our business. So I just want to encourage you that having a growth mindset really is the first step, and knowing that you know it's going to take you being very, not necessarily aggressive, but very assertive as it relates to you getting what you want. Because I was talking to someone the other day and she said, oh, I just love jewelry so much and I do want to make money at it, but I'm okay with just buying the stuff too, which is totally fine. But we had to get clear then that's not really a business. That's more like a hobby, or that's more like you just being a collector, right? Because she was saying that, oh, yes, I have a jewelry business. But when we really kind of unpacked everything, it really wasn't a jewelry business. It was just her kind of buying stuff that she liked, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's totally fine. But we have to get really clear as it relates to how we define our business. All right. And remember, I say this all the time, when it comes to being a jewelry reseller or having a jewelry reselling business, the intention is to make money. Doesn't mean we're going to hit that every single time, because there are going to be times when you lose money, especially when you're just starting out or if you're still learning, or even not, because there's been mistakes I've made that have cost me money, even though I have been doing this a few years. But, at the end of the day, the intention is to make money and then to grow that money or to use that money to make even more money. All right. Okay, so we talked about developing a growth mindset and making peace with accepting that we just are never going to know it all. And that's okay, because you don't have to. All right. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is confidence in your products, in your pricing, and in your presentation, or I should say in your business. Now, a lot of people are just not confident, and I get it, because jewelry is a very overwhelming thing. So it's a beast in its own right. And so a lot of people are just not confident. They're not confident when they're outsourcing. They're not confident when they're pricing their items. They're not confident, as it relates to their listings and their photographs and all of these things. But remember that each of these things are a discipline, and each of these things are things that the more you do, the better that you will get at it. So make the decision to be confident. And that doesn't mean that you know everything, but you're confident in the sense that you can make this work, and you can figure out whatever needs to be figured out. You know that you will get better. You know that you will eventually craft this business into exactly what you want it to be. All right. Having confidence doesn't always equate to experience or skill set. It just means that in your mind, you know that this is going to work, and there is no doubt, because you will figure it out. You will figure out whatever needs to be figured out. Like how Marie Forleo says, everything is figure outable, right? So if whatever you don't know now, there's somebody out there who's already doing it, or there's somebody who has the answer. All right. And so really kind of instill that confidence in yourself, because that really is key. Having the confidence to start this business is already huge. Having the confidence to do a live show, if you've never done that. Having the confidence to go to your first yard sale, thrift store, estate sale, antique mall, whatever. All of that does take confidence. Now, it may not be major, but for some of us it is, right? Especially for some of us who've never done this before. Now, the other thing too, you really have to believe in your products. This doesn't mean that you have the absolute best jewelry on the market, but you know that you are giving a good value for what you're asking in return as it relates to the price, right? So if you have inexpensive jewelry pieces, those still hold value to some degree to some people, depending on whatever it is and how you market it and who your buyer is. All right, so just understand that you're always bringing value in some way, shape, or form. Don't ever doubt that, because I know some jewelry resellers do, and they feel very intimidated by certain things as it relates to what we do. But have the confidence, and sometimes the confidence really is just making the decision to believe that what you do has some type of value, and that it's going to work for you. All right. Now, the other thing I want to talk about as it relates to confidence is a lot of us struggle with imposter syndrome. In other words, believing we're not good enough, we're not knowledgeable enough, we don't know enough. We worry, oh, someone's going to ask me a question and I don't know the answer, or somebody's going to do something and I don't know how to handle it. All right. Understand that you are fully capable of handling anything and everything that comes your way. Now, that doesn't mean that you do everything perfectly, but you can handle whatever happens. All right. The good and the bad and the ugly. I've had some situations that weren't that great, and I've lived to tell about it. All right. So I just want you to really have faith in yourself and to really know and understand that you don't have to be perfect. All right. You don't have to be the best of the best, even. I know people who aren't that great as it relates to jewelry still making a lot of money. All right. So there's place and a space for all of us. Now, the other thing, let's see. You want to confidently set your prices that reflect the quality and value of your jewelry. I kind of already touched upon that. And you'll get better at that the more you do it. All right. You truly will. And taking the time to research and understand the market, the platform, your buyer, all of those things that we always talk about on the podcast are going to help you tremendously in doing that. Okay. And always remember too that if we want to get like spiritual, esoteric, there really is no failure, right? There's only lessons that are learned, and there's new information that has been gained. Now, I know sometimes it's going to cost us, it might cost us money, time, effort, whatever. But if we can think about it along those lines, then it's not as scary, right? Because we're always going to come out the other side better. All right, the next thing I want to encourage you with is to have a customer-centric mindset. In other words, really focus on being the best service as it relates to a jewelry seller for your customers. Like, how can you give them the best experience? And I'm not saying you have to like bend over backwards. I'm not saying that, or you have to, really overextend yourself. But what I am saying is, what can you do to make sure the buyer has the best experience possible? What can you do? Um, what can you do in the sense that it kind of sets you apart, right? Like, because I think about this all the time, because there's a million and one, jewelry resellers out there. And there's a lot of live sellers out there. And so I always try to create a very comfortable, welcoming experience as it relates to my live shows, as it relates to my listings. And so I try to be very, very thorough. I try to be very detailed. I try to give more information than necessary. Now, that's just me, but we all have something that we do very, very well that can actually benefit us as it relates to servicing our customers and servicing our buyers. All right. So you just want to think about that. Now, the other thing I have in my notes is creating a brand experience that keeps customers coming back. All right. How are you showing up? How are you reaching out and trying to connect with the people you want to sell your jewelry to? All right. I like to do that on social media. I think that's probably how 99.9% of us do. Some of us don't do anything. We just throw our listings up and hope for the best. And, that totally can work. But I do think that why not control the things that we can control? And so, as how we show up in social media or online, that's something we can control, right? We can control how we communicate what we do to our buyers. We can control how things look and how we present our items to our buyers. In this case, how we present our jewelry. All right. So think about those things too. And that's another thing that will help you stay encouraged because, like I said, I have fun with social media, but I know not everybody does. But the thing is you totally have control of that, right? You have control of how often you post, if you post, where you post, what you post. And so you can really develop a whole brand. You can develop a whole strategy and a whole campaign even as it relates to how you communicate with your buyers and your potential buyers. Okay. All right. The next thing I want to talk about to help you stay encouraged is discipline and consistency. And I think this is a point that has been driven home so many times as it relates to reselling, not just with me, but with other resellers online and their content. There's so much said, or so much to be said, about discipline and consistency. All right. And I talk about that as it relates to building your systems for your jewelry reselling business, because everything has to be done in a very disciplined, consistent way if we want our money to be consistent and if we want our business to grow. All right. So, what are the daily actions and habits that you do to help you grow, to help you make more sales, to help you find the best jewelry possible? Like, what are those things that you do? And what are some ways that you keep yourself motivated when you're not having the best sourcing day, or when you're, having your third, fourth, fifth, or sixth day in a row with no sales? What are you doing to offset that? All right. I talked about it earlier in the podcast about how sometimes we have to coach ourselves through these things. And it doesn't mean that, we give up, and it doesn't mean that we ignore it, like I do see a lot of resellers do, who they just ignore and complain, and they say, oh my gosh, I haven't had a sale in 2 weeks, or, you know, eBay this or Poshmark that or whatnot this. And yes, that's the easy, that's the easy response. But what I want you to think about is, what is the proactive response? What is the thing that you can do in order to change things going forward? And sometimes the change really only needs to happen within. In other words, we just need to change how we feel about something, or we just need to change how we perceive something. And then once we make the change in here, then that reflects on our behaviors and our decisions and the actions that we take. All right. So think about all of that when you're thinking about being disciplined and when you're thinking about being consistent. And don't be afraid to kind of go within. And I'm not saying blame yourself, but what I am saying is to really take responsibility, because if you're not having sales for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever the case may be, I'm going to bet that there's something that you could probably pinpoint during that time that you either did or were not doing that could have contributed to that. It's about getting real with ourselves, and it's about really, like I said, taking responsibility and not blaming the platform, not blaming our buyers or lack thereof. All right, because there's always something that you can do, whether it's tweaking your listings, taking better photos, maybe doing more research, maybe finding better jewelry pieces, whatever. All right, so there's always something that you can do, so you don't just sit back and say, oh my gosh, this is so hard, or oh my gosh, this isn't working. Now, the other thing I want to throw out there as it relates to discipline and consistency, and I have this in my notes, and that's the importance of time management, setting business goals, creating a schedule if that works for you. Because I remember when I was really, really hard grinding, hustling, doing this, I pretty much was doing this all day. Like jewelry was just my thing all day. I would go to the thrift store or wherever I was going, and I would do that in the morning. Then I would come home and I would sort and I would list, and I would sort and I would list, and then I would detangle, and then I would, really, it was funny how it was just like all day. And now, while that worked for a little while, I did burn out. I really did. And not only that, but it also kind of disrupted other areas of my life, because everything kind of, you know, was kind of squeezed in around me doing jewelry business stuff. So think about that as you're doing this. Now, of course, a lot of us have the goal to be full time as it relates to selling our jewelry. And that's totally possible. I'm not saying it isn't. But there does have to be some sort of boundaries and balance as it relates to your work, as it relates to what you do, and really being productive in the time that you give yourself to run your business. Because the other thing I've learned too is sometimes when you don't have like a full time job or something like that, you can literally take all day to do something that probably realistically would only take you a few hours. But because you have all day, it takes you all day. What is that phrase where they said the work expands to the time, the time you give it, or something like that? And that's totally true because that's been my experience. So understand time management is important, all right, because again, that will prevent you from getting burnt out. It will help you, not be so imbalanced as it relates to the rest of your life. And not only that, I think it's much healthier as it relates to our mental health because then we're not so consumed with our business and not giving ourselves a break when we need one. Okay. All right. So the last thing I want to mention as it relates to having a successful growth mindset as a jewelry seller or a jewelry reseller is to really, and I talked about this a little bit already, but it really is to get comfortable with marketing. Now, a lot of you know that I was a social media manager in my previous life at the corporate level. And one of the things that I learned, and I still try to apply this to my own business today, is that you really do need to show up in some way every single day. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to physically post every day. There's tools now that will help you manage this. You can schedule posts, you can hire somebody to post for you, but you need to make sure that you are doing something to stay visible every single day. If you want your business to grow, if you want your customer base to grow, and if you want to make more sales, which in turn will help you make more money. All right. So figure out how can you consistently show up for yourself and show up for your business every single day. Now, again, this is going to take a different mindset because as individuals, we think, oh, nobody wants to see me every day, or I don't want somebody getting tired of seeing me post, or I don't want to annoy people on my timeline. All right. So you really are going to have to separate that from your business. All right. Because um, what's healthy and good for your business, it may not apply to your personal life, but in some cases, it's crucial for your business life or your business health. And I understand, it's uncomfortable. We feel like we're spamming, or we feel like, oh, they're going to get tired and then they're going to unfollow, you know, and actually that's not true because I want to say at least 90% of the time, nobody sees what you're posting because everybody's in their own world. They scroll, they scroll, they scroll, you know? So don't worry about that. All right. And I just want to encourage you. The more you allow yourself and your business to be seen, the better it will be for your bottom line. All right. And I've seen this time and time again. And I know for a fact that it works. But you're going to have to kind of get over the hurdle of you feeling like, oh, I don't want to bug people. I don't want to spam people. All right. If you do feel that way, then set up a separate, page or profile or account for your business, so that way you don't have to spam your personal account so your friends and family or whoever won't see you posting 3 times a day your jewelry. Right. So you can always set up a separate page or whatever you need to do. But I want to encourage you that figure out a way of how you can show up every day. Now, for some of you, that's just going to be listing every day, right? Because some of you don't do any of the social media stuff. You only sell on eBay or you only sell on Etsy, which is fine. I mean, that totally works. You don't have to have a social media, profile to do that, but you still need to show up every day. Right. And how does that look? Like I said, that's going to be listing every single day, sending out offers every single day, um, maybe doing a newsletter every single day, maybe running a coupon, 24-hour coupons every single day. Whatever it is, whatever it is, get really comfortable with marketing and marketing every single day, because I promise you it will pay off. Now, you're going to have to figure out what works and what doesn't, as you're starting this, as you're learning what works, what gets a good response, what people are clicking on or spending time on, or what people are buying. All right. But that's one of the things, like I said, I want to encourage you, figure out how you can show up every single day for your business. And like I said, it doesn't have to be you doing something every day. A lot of this stuff can be automated. All right. A lot of it can be automated. You don't have to be a slave to your computer or your phone, because I know a lot of times we do feel that way, especially I know when I was on eBay, and like I said, when I was doing my hustle and grind, I felt like I was in a lot of ways a slave to eBay, right? Because I was always doing something. I was always listing. I was shipping. I was, sending offers. I was responding to offers. Like it was like literally, you know, all I did. But it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way for you. All right. Now, the other thing is, I want to say this, because I know a lot of people think, you know, selling and promoting yourself and all of that is pushy, but it's not. The best marketers in the world have said that true selling is actually serving. All right. It's not being pushy, it's not spamming, but if you're selling the right way, you are actually serving people, you are serving your buyer in a way that benefits them and you. All right. So, again, it's just reframing how we think about things, and it's reframing um, what we're doing. All right. And I'm not saying there aren't people out there who are spammy and annoying, but that's not us. Right. We're consciously choosing that is not us. All right. So think about that. Think about that. Okay. So we talked about um, really having a growth mindset, and what is, I don't want to say necessary, but in a lot of ways, it is mandatory that you have a mindset, like I said, and the confidence that this is going to work for you and that you are going to succeed in some way, shape, or form. All right. Now, we all may start off as, everything jewelry sellers, and then we find our sweet spot maybe in vintage, or maybe in handmade, or maybe in high end luxury, whatever, maybe a combination of all of those things. But really focusing on how you can be better and do better every single day will take you so far. And I think that's really the core of this message in this episode. And like I said, if you feel discouraged, if you feel lost or overwhelmed, please come back to this episode and give it a listen, because I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to feel like nothing's working. You're wasting your time. Should you do this? Could you do this? Why did I do this? I'm telling you, I've been there. I've been there, and I have had to pivot many times. There's some people that I see, they do this and it instantly works and things take off and they're making all kinds of money, but that wasn't my story. That wasn't my journey. That wasn't my path. I struggled for years before I finally figured out how I could make this work. And even now, as the reselling landscape is changing, I find myself still in some parts of my business are not working and flowing as I would like them to. And so I'm having to redefine and restructure what I do. Like I said, I don't have it all figured out. I'm just someone who maybe is a little bit further ahead, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'm at the pinnacle or I'm at, the top levels of doing this. But I know, if that's the goal that I decide, I know I can get there. And I'm fully confident that what I do brings value, right? So there is nothing that will make me not feel that way. There is nothing that anybody can say or do that's going to derail me from knowing the value that I bring as it relates to my business and as it relates to, the content I share here with all of you. All right, so let me make sure that I've got everything covered in my notes. So think about these key mindset shifts, all right, as you are, you know, thinking about your business. We're still at the beginning of a new year, so you can really make some plans, as we move forward, and think about, what is working for me now and what isn't. Do I feel discouraged in any part of my business? Do I feel like there's some parts that I could improve upon? Or maybe some parts that are really, really working and I want to scale that to do more. All right. There's so many aspects of this that we can think about. And if you have any mindset struggles or even some wins that you would like to share with me, I would love to hear about it so I can encourage you or celebrate the win with you, because I think that is very helpful for all of us to know that we're not alone, to know that we all are dealing with this the best way we can, and that we all are making this work in the best way that we can. All right, my jewelry friends, that is all I have for you as it relates to this episode. So, yeah, I think that's going to be it. Let me know your thoughts and let me know your opinion as it relates to this topic. And if there's anything I may have missed, or maybe something else you would like me to deep dive into further, I am always open and willing to your ideas and anything that you may think, could be helpful to any of us, because like I said, none of us have it all figured out, but we're all doing the best we can. All right. So again, if you would like to get more information about the ebook resources that I have for you, make sure you check the description or the show notes of this video or this episode. You can also visit the website, jewelryresellerspodcast.com, and I have all kinds of goodies for you over there. All right, jewelry friends, thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I'll check in with you again really soon.